My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is federal stalking under Title 18 with the entity that is under the age of maturity, and the entity does so pursuant to ongoing surveillance of the documentation which is serving to prosecute. Going downstairs, crossing path, doing so under the fake sun. Remember, yesterday at 10:17 a.m., I have yet to arrive here. I'm documenting the demon at 218 C Street that's monitoring with a minor child in that white vehicle, the fake sun, and the entity is stalking by commercial planes. The entity is aware of the fact that it is surrounded with evidence, and the mentally ill, the psychopaths that engage in pedophilia, also include minor children in the criminal pattern pattern of conduct, surveillance, and furtherance of murder. And the minors, as I've showed you, the gang members that they are, demons under the age of majority, are very much intentionally and knowingly engaging in the pattern of conduct because it is demonic activity. So this is, again, evidence which is speaking to the criminalization of demonic activity, which those under the age of majority engage in, which the people of the state are going to be prosecuted, the government's going to be prosecuted for. They brought in 8th graders to share in what is psychopathic pacing. OVITT Family Community Library is a terrorist, a gang stalker, and is engaging in it. And I captured the fake son over this library this morning during the 8 a.m. hour. This is the entity that's engaging in criminal conduct like psychopaths do when they are frustrated, hostile for being exposed, and they engage in more criminal conduct to their own demise. And this is also psychopathic while they engage in the outward demonstration of what is demon possession under the guise, no one in the world is believing that they're engaging in anything other than gang stalking, in other words. Same exact impossible light. Fake sun remains until after sunset. I've documented, and these are the demons that are pacing every day, now leading 8th graders to pace all around me. These are the demons that are going to be separated from their demon-possessed parents. All right, and the government aids in criminal conduct amongst the minors who are made delinquents. They're made sex offenders. They're made criminals. This is P.O.C. All right, that's impossible light. That's above while they're pacing. Very deranged behavior. This is City of Ontario, by the way. Alrighty, this is the pattern of conduct, and the entity is engaging in this with the people of the state that are deranged, and by the way, demons give birth to demons, in case you did not know that. That's the entity that engaged in kidnapping, crossing path. On my right side, he's going to prison, and so are the gang members of the Ontario Police Department. So I'll show you the fake sun, where minors are engaging in criminal conduct with the people of the state. You're going to federal prison for engaging in the pattern of conduct. Gregory's stalking under the fake sun at the square this morning. These demons are going to prison. Okay. This is the entity that's going to be shut down as an airport, shut down as a police department, shut down as a fire department. Where it is, by the way, 10:15 a.m. Yesterday at 10:17 a.m., I'm capturing the African American gang stalking via SoCal Gas. I'm walking in this direction. I'm capturing the fake sun that's over me en route, but yet I'm already here at an earlier time. And you're looking at demons that are under the age of majority. You're looking at demons over the age of majority, sharing in criminal conduct with the government in furtherance of murder, also engaging what is sexual violence, mentally ill behavior, doing so with knowledge of the evidence about the unprecedented criminal conduct, which is terrorism in the U.S., and they intentionally and knowingly engage in that, understand the threat that the U.S. government is while they engage in this conduct, and it's no longer a secret. All right, this is P.O.C. It is 10:16 a.m. The fake sun, as I documented, is still here while I'm capturing the same gang stalkers under the age of majority. Those are terrorists. They're not going to be treated differently under the law because they're under the age of majority. The evidence shows full knowledge, intent, and malice with regard to what is demon possession. That's how they have that, okay? That maturity with regard to their engagement in criminal conduct. And it's not a defense that you're demon possessed. The entities engage in this after 4 p.m. where those minors are engaged in the P.O.C. gang violence with the Ontario Police Department. This is P.O.C. It's 10:16 a.m. Audible activity, amplified noise, Union Pacific. This is the entity that makes fools of itself. This is P.O.C.
Have study rooms that you can check out. You just need to come to the front desk right here and request a study room where you get one of those private rooms back there. Alright, so, pardon me, sorry. Thank you. Okay, so, let's move forward. You're working on your left. You're going to see a library. It started working, so.
This is federal stalking. Psychopathic pacing amongst the entity utilizing the minors, and you can hear the voice of the employee. OVITT Family Community Libraries is a psychopath vagina monitor engaging on a daily basis. She's just doing so today with regard to minor children, and this is relevant to the surveillance that they're engaging regarding my investigation, focusing on the delinquency of minors who are engaged in gang stalking in the U.S. with the government, and their gang stalking parents who conspire murder together while they engage in that. The substance of her audible activity under the fake sun in the engineered light at this library where it remains, as I document, until sunset is relevant to what is you're going to see with regard to public corruption, relevant to the venue where she's gang stalking me at a library. So they've invited a bunch of tweenie boppers under the age of majority, I believe 8th graders who are engaged in federal stalking. You'll see the entity gang stalking me on school buses. You'll see them targeting with impossible light. They're doing so with minor children. Demons operating the school buses, the entity maintaining that pattern of conduct with the school districts while they are surveying the evidence as is published. They make decisions to engage in more exposure of their own methods of terrorism, speaking to the threat that they are to each other and the public. The entity's audible activity, which you hear her pointing out, this is the computer, this is where you can check this out, and this is where you can do that. They're engaging in psychopathic pacing. They all have multiple shadows. The entity is engaged in gang violence on behalf of the same gang members who are both the people of the state over and under the age of majority and the Ontario Police Department. This is literally why the demons at the OVITT Family Community Library are going to prison. And by the way, what you're paying attention to, what the demons are literally conceding, is that the entity that makes malicious assertions like the gang stalkers that you hear pointing out with regard to audible activity creation, all of the resources available inside of the facilitating venue, which is the OVITT Family Community Library, they are sharing in sexual violence, criminal activity, that which they falsely and maliciously accuse an American citizen, that is myself, a targeted individual, of, such as molestation, while they are actually sharing in criminal activity with minor children, accusing me in that which they are guilty of, sexual violence, impropriety with minors. Okay, the entity that's engaging in what are making all of the malicious assertions, literally every single one that you, drug addict, prostitution, distribution of drugs, fraud, that I am mentally ill, that I'm a sex offender, a pedophile, the entity has confessed what it has committed. And that's very specific, because you will find those same criminal acts committed by this entity that is gang stalking me. Currently, they're doing so inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, engaging in criminal activity of a federal nature. It's terrorism with those under the age of majority. And their psychopathic pattern of conduct is shared by those under the age of majority and the same terrorists. The demon that walks with a cane, African-American, facial hair, gang stalking on computer number 3 yesterday evening. The sparking light is gang stalking on computer number 9, the same sparking light while stalking in the path in my peripheral, in other words, engaging in surveillance on behalf of the Ontario Police Department. The overweight Latino male that likes to use his audible activity to communicate a threat that he will never cash in on, in the same way that he will not bust a grape only and unless he sits on one, talking about he hits girls while he's gang stalking one. Okay, and he cannot even directly address me, and if he does, he's going to prison. But nonetheless, this is the demon stalking in the peripheral with sparking light. This is what these demons are doing while they're stalking with minor children, pacing all around. This is what they do with regard to ritualistic conduct. It's stalking under federal law. It's federal stalking. It's relevant to interstate. They're all monitoring via communication devices, keeping everything that I'm doing and publishing online. They're doing it on behalf of the gang members of the Ontario Police Department who commit kidnapping and who share in criminal defamation. For example, with the gang stalkers of San Bernardino County who are going to prison, committing kidnapping here at the same venue with these same demons on June 16, 2022. In fact, he's crossing path in the video that I captured this morning. The tall African-American male with a glaring bald spot and dreads all around that bald spot. Nonetheless, this is an entity that's engaging in criminal activity that it falsely accuses American citizens of. And this is literally the character of Satan. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's currently 10:45 a.m. at 215 East C Street. The entity is maintaining the fake sun, and so I will give you direct relevant evidence. I'll refer to it in this podcast so you can just look it up, but you'll see it on X, you'll see it on YouTube, and it is all published onto the Google Drive, which is the evidence to create what is the prosecution in a courtroom. When you are prosecuting the government for that which has never been heard of before, for that which has never been proven, for that which is automatically written off as being one that someone is imagining, and that's because of the corruption of the government, and that's also because of the mentally deranged patterns of the government. You are necessarily doing so through evidence that you can see with your own eyes, that you can hear with your own ears, that you can literally watch like a movie, and then the entity is going to be subject to a very clear prosecution without any controversy. Not only beyond a reasonable doubt are they convicted, they are convicted regarding what is certainty with regard to science, to a scientific degree, is the certainty of guilt regarding federal group stalking, monitoring terrorism in the United States, criminal surveillance, which is satanic in nature, and criminal activity shared by those over and under majority. And the entity is engaging in this, as I have spoken to. I want to go ahead and remind you about the evidence where the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, the ways in which the entity engages in terrorism is relevant to my evidence as I speak to gang stalking amongst school districts against minor children, against the entity that is a threat to this country while they demon possess, procreate. Literally. This is the entity that engages in those methods. They are psychopathic, very unintelligent, okay, and delusional. And Satan convinces them that it is a good idea to engage in X, Y, and Z. I, on the other hand, with my foot on Satan's neck, am always in a position of an advantage, to take advantage of, in other words, of the highly unintelligent maneuvers of demons who are already surrounded with evidence. They literally decided that it was a good idea to show that their gang stalking minor children are a threat while in their custody, having access to, while the people of the state have access to them. This is the same with the clients of OPARC and ANDCORRUPT. They're doing the same thing with minor children while they are engaging in what are utilizing them to engage in gang stalking. While the developmentally challenged, while those under the age of majority are pacing around me, the demons of the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library are stalking with noise. Door closure while you're walking by in the engineer light under a fake sun that's present from 10 until 4 p.m. And that's just giving you an example with regard to the succinct means whereby demons are engaging in nothing other than stalking with light. Certifiable conduct. That those under the age majority, psychopathic disorders, yes, this is what you need to be aware of, because you're dealing with demons. Demons that are not discriminating with regard to the age of the vessel. Demons that come out of the womb with this issue that is now legally relevant because the government is essentially a cult. All right, this is P.O.C. It's 10:49 a.m. This is malice. While you want to explain and describe and point out the resources of the library while you're simultaneously stalking with light, stalking with audible activity, and stalking in my path in furtherance of my murder, having already committed a series of federal offenses, including criminal summoning and kidnapping as an entity, while psychopaths with vagina monitors surround me sparking with light, mentally ill demons. They're going to prison. Okay, that's the long and short of it. They're going to prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's 10:49 a.m. This is 215 East C Street. You have the entity engaging in this P.O.C. and I will remind you about the video that you just listened to. It's relevant to the video that I'm capturing regarding gang violence of this same method, using minor children who are engaging in that pattern of conduct instinctively because it's demonic activity and it's equally criminal, and they will be treated in a uniform manner under federal law. The video that is captured today at 10:12 a.m. at 215 East C Street, and you see the fake sun over my head at that entrance. You will see the fake sun at that same entrance where it has gone nowhere, where you're looking at also the illusion, where you see it while I'm standing at the same entrance, the same address where you're listening to, and what you're looking at on the videos and the images of stalking as a population that is over and under the age of majority, all equally demon-possessed and all surrounded by evidence. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct regarding the illusion. The fake sun is in the same position that it is regarding the video captured on January 11, 2026 at 4:18 p.m., where that fake sun has not gone anywhere, where it's over the entrance at 215 C Street, and it's in front of me. I'm looking at it at that same entrance at 4:18 p.m. That's 10. Let's count together. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 hours later is where you have minor children sharing in psychopathic behavior regarding surveillance of a satanic nature on behalf of the government that relies on that population and even engages in more of it as it is exposed. That's what the Ontario Police Department are doing, rather, at 4:51 p.m. on January 11, 2026, which is why those gang members are being disbanded. Okay, this is an entity that's engaging in that. In the video that you see at 4:18 p.m. Captured on June 11, 2026, which is juxtaposed with what is the fake sun over me this morning, while minor children, delinquents, engaging in domestic terrorism in the United States, not different from what's going on in Afghanistan, placing bazookas in the arms in the hands of minor children that you don't expect to blow your head off. That's why they do that. The entities engaged, it's called public corruption, it's called malice. In other words, Satan thinks that he's clever or stealth, surreptitious, clandestine, sneaky, and he's not. You are analyzing the stalker. The stalker is identified in the environment. The stalker has an identifiable behavior. And you're not going to differentiate. You're not going to cheat. Common sense. You are not treated any differently based on your identity. You're not treated differently in the law when you wear a police uniform. To the contrary. In fact, federal law is going to make an example out of you because you wear that uniform. The entities engaging in this with minor children. Okay, and at 4:18 p.m. on January 11, 2026, the fake sun's in the same position it is this morning while I'm at the Ontario Town Square. That's the illusion. The fake sun is an amber orange as opposed to a bright, opaque yellow. It hasn't gone anywhere. It certainly never reached Florida. It certainly never went to Riverside, California. It didn't even go to what would be South Ontario. It never went to Mission Boulevard. It never was over Woodside Senior Apartments, where Tracy Banks had the fake sun rising and setting, apartment 51, where the Ontario Police knew exactly where I was at, flying in circles over me, flying in circles over that apartment building, where the demons were pacing while that fake sun remained over. That's what they're doing inside of a building, and that's what they're doing with minor children, and that's what they're doing while they are surveilling the evidence, exposing minor children directly engaged in an integral aspect regarding domestic terrorism, and they chose to do that in the same way that they have chosen what is martial law. It's inevitable for this level of lawlessness. Serial killers and pedophiles, psychopaths that have, what I'm showing you in the evidence, no self-control and clearly no tactics, no methods, no organization, who are making these decisions when you're facing this level of exposure that the P.O.C. has provided to the world. You're all witnessing this. These are demons. It is currently 10:54 a.m. That's the video that you're going to refer to. It's captured on January 11, 2026. And it is January 14, 2026. It's 10:54 a.m. This is directly relevant to federal prison for the terrorists of the OVITT Family Community Library who committed kidnapping, and they're going to regret it for the rest of their lives.
This is upon my exit of the OVITT Family Community Library. See those vehicles? It's psychopathic pacing. And there's no landing here. There's no landing behind the Chevron when I'm north of this location. All right. There's no landings behind the Ontario Town Square Amphitheater over there where the entity is stalking my steps there. They just committed vagina monitoring, bathroom monitoring. And they do it with those under the age of majority. Title 18 federal stalking. That's a sex offender that's engaged in targeting me with a child, doing so as an entity. And there's sex offenders that are stalking in the path with light activity. And that's the significance of the fake sun that you saw over as a matter of evidence sitting over this building all day long, where Mickey is inside, is engaged in criminal activity, sexual violence, terrorism, conspiring murder with the government and with minors. And they're doing so as an entity. The OVITT Family Community Library has no problem. Those employees have been pleading for federal prison. That's exactly what they're getting. They're going to prison. This is P.O.C. I just want to be clear, this is the entity that's engaged in criminal conduct, targeting, and furtherance of murder with minors. Their headlights are not what's illuminating over here. And this is, again, in sync conduct by the demon possessed. This is the P.O.C. You see this with her brother under the fake sun after 4 p.m. I just documented that the other day. That was specifically January 11, 2026. And these demons over and under the majority know that they're being documented and engaged in this sort of conduct. Positioning. This is terrorism. This is P.O.C. and doing so with the airport. That's the pattern of conduct. By the way, it's currently 8:16 p.m. This is my shadow on the wall over here. All right, engaging in what is lying in wait and furtherance of murder, gang stalking me with the government that's hovering, stalking in planes, license 7 Henry Bob Zebra 661. And they're engaged in federal stalking under Title 18 to be specific. This is why Mike LORENZ is going to prison. This is why every kidnapper of that gang, that is the Ontario Police, are going to prison for stalking in helicopters, stalking with the demons that pace around me, stalking with light. This is P.O.C. OVITT Family Community Library. This third party was monitoring my vagina, tracking my steps. That's the significance of the fake sun that's here all day long, stalking with light. Satanic behavior. It's mentally ill behavior. Engineer light is moving on the front of this vehicle, and I know that, and that's speaking to what are not headlights. Concerted conduct with minors. P.O.C. Mentally ill. Demon walking out, pacing vehicles, stalking with commercial planes. These are the demons that are in need of what is martial law. Martial law is exactly what's going to be needed in Ontario, California is letting you know what's wrong in California. the entire state. This is P.O.C. This is what terrorists do in response to being exposed for being domestic terrorist enemies of this country, sleepers that are here engaging in what is seeking to destroy the lives of American citizens, targeting them and exploiting the laws as they exist. That's the public corruption. That's the corrupt government that's targeting you in concert with the people. And they do so. I want to be clear, the mentally ill that are demon possessed, their demon possession precludes them from engaging in any reasoning, engaging in any strategy, engaging in any self-restraint. That's also why they need martial law. This is P.O.C. It's currently 8:18 p.m. upon my exit of the restroom and upon my exit of the venue, OVITT Family Community Library. All right, you're gonna pay attention to, as I progress, that's where the stalking with the planes progresses, right? They're not flying behind me where the OVITT library is. They're flying, remaining south of my person. There's no airport behind this is the Ontario Plaza. There's nothing but the Ontario City Hall, the Metro 102 apartments. These are demons who are obsessively stalking. That's where they were, where I was over there, and they were flying right over this apartment building. As I progress in this direction, so does the stalking conduct. And they have psychopaths out here that are stalking with light. Okay, just like they are at the bus stop, where feces consumers who are gargoyles, who are engaging with a gang stalking with children, which is speaking to informing federal legislation, informing what is necessary martial law regarding predators and terrorists, serial killers and pedophiles who are engaging in criminal surveillance in the United States, stalking in commercial airline planes from place to place. As I go in that direction, back up North Euclid Avenue, where the entity is stalking with the fake sun, remaining on 1 street, that's where the plane activity is going to occur. It remains on the south side of my person. There's nothing back here. It's the Metro 102, which I captured the entity stalking, flying over that apartment building. This is the 280 North Limit Apartments. The Ontario City Hall is behind that. The Ontario Fire Department is behind that. The at Sultana and Hope Boulevard, that's the Stereo City. That's the entity that is, again, the airport, Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 are south of Hope Boulevard. They're not even on anywhere near that property while they're stalking. You also know that case when you're looking at the entity stalking at the 408 West G Street, the Ontario Woodside Senior Apartments, for example, the Pizza Hut, the Stater Brothers. The entities engaging in what is stalking as an airport, and they're doing so while psychopaths are sitting around here being sex offenders. Sex offenders are going to be prosecuted as the demon-possessed psychopaths that they are, molesting with engineer light while stalking in furtherance of murder, monitoring you. P.O.C. It is currently 10:28 p.m. Commercial airlines are going to be prosecuted as terrorists and sex offenders and co-conspirators of murder with the population keeping you under surveillance. P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 10:28 p.m. at 224 North Euclid Avenue. This is my shadow reaching, and here's my other shadow right here. That has nothing to do with any lights that are over me, okay? That's not the light activity while my shadow's over here and my shadow's behind me. This is engineer light. We're stalking by the Ontario International Airport, a national security threat, and it is going to be shut down. P.O.C.